Hello everyone, welcome back to Where Swans Walk. Back with Hugh, James and Rich, familiar faces of the pod from last season. A brand new season, a brand new face, myself, Reese. I'll be hosting the pod this season, and yeah, can't wait to see where the Swans end up this season, hopefully pushing top. But yeah, okay gents, what do you think of the game? Did we all watch it?
Well, yeah, we watched it, but it wasn't much of a watch. That's the thing, it was one of those games where it just went away from us. Really, we didn't get going. We had a bit of intent in the first half, as such. At the beginning, a few players looked decent, but we lost our way and let them back in it like so many times last season. A bit reminding me of the Christmas period where we were a little bit lax in possession, confidence gone back into our shells. And just not much in that final third then creating. It was a disappointing afternoon, and then set piece goal won the games. What can you do about it? It's you want to see more from the players, but we need to be building that squad up now. We haven't replaced the players we lost last season, like Lewis O'Brien, for example.
I managed to watch the game back at it recorded after I got back from my flight, but I'm not happy with what I've seen. I think a lot of the issues that we saw through pre-season, I'm really struggling to see what we're trying to do, if I'm being honest. I know people say you can't really read too much into pre-season. It's just a fitness, getting ideas into the players. But throughout that process, you should see things coming together and what the side is all about, how we're going to set out for the season. And yeah, it just looked all rather muddled. Again, there was a reluctance to try and play through the thirds. A lot of aimless clip balls into the channels, which isn't really us, if I'm being honest. We've never been a side that's really played that way. I think Vital Swansea did a really good piece on where they were talking about that. It looks like our midfield is no longer coming short to collect the ball from the keeper, and we're trying to rely on knockdowns and second balls, which I just find bizarre. But yeah, second half was appalling, if I'm honest. We could have been out there for a month and wouldn't have scored a goal. So yeah, a few concerns for me. Like I said, I'm a little bit sort of nervous about what direction we're heading in.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of what you said. I think for me, it was a couple of bits. I think you probably all saw that picture someone put on Twitter of the nobody dropped in the back to help out the defence, crying out for where's Fulton, where's Franco, where's everyone going? And I think kind of epitomises what you're saying, James. What were we trying to do? Couple of positives though. I don't think it was necessarily all doom and gloom. It wasn't brilliant, but I think Anusa looked quite sharp. I think he can definitely offer something this season, particularly if he starts to build a partnership with somebody up front. For me, I think the biggest worry is no creativity. There's no creativity in midfield. We're crying out for that attacking midfielder to take up the ball, drive it forward, and do something with it. That's the most sought after position for me that we need to fill in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, the jury's still out for me.
I think if you're looking at this, well, he set up with three players who all were quite negative on the day in midfield. Yeah. So your Galbraith had come in and he's new, fair play. But was he sort of holding, or was Fulton supposed to be holding, or they both holding, or didn't really see Franco at his best, to be honest. Like, had one of his worst games, but because he was outnumbered in midfield, he didn't get to see the possession and movement that he usually has. So influential in play. But yeah, I couldn't really understand that myself. I think we kind of looked as if we were going from a point from the beginning, trying to snatch something, but they weren't all at Middlesbrough. I think they were there for the taking on the day.
Yeah. Do you reckon it's the first game of the season, things hopefully now they know what we need to work on and where things need to be focused on, as you say, midfield? Do you reckon that'll be where Sheehan goes back and says, right, this is where our mistakes were against Boro, hope you can take him to the next game?
I'd like to think so. However, I'd urge you to go back and watch the game again. Sorry if I'm going to probably bore people talking about the shape when you're restarting the game here. But if you look when Lawrence Vigouroux receives the ball, there seems to be a real reluctance for anyone to come and collect it short from him. Now, you've got Franco, you've got Fulton, and you've got Galbraith. Now, what's stopping someone like Galbraith dropping in short from the restart, just coming in and picking the ball up and then turning and maybe Fulton going further forward if he doesn't want to pick the ball up? You've got the personnel there that can do. You've got some really good technical footballers there. If one of them's not confident in picking the ball up from the back four, surely one of them can drop in and do it. You definitely got there is quality in there. I would say Galbraith's probably the best at doing it. Surely he should be looking at that and going, okay, well, if we are going to try and play through the thirds, ideally you're going to want him to be the one that starts doing that. We all know that's not Fulton's game, but it was a little bit inexcusable that a few of them were actually hiding behind players. You can actually see it. They're almost marking themselves at receiving the ball.
Yeah, I think tomorrow night's a good opportunity for us to try and implement some more of that strategy and shape, whatever it is. We've got an opportunity tomorrow, especially for a couple of youngsters, the new lad Casey coming in as well, and for Bobby Wales maybe to get some game time tomorrow. I think it's come at a really good time, that game against, no disrespect to Corey, but a lower league team as well. I think we could see potentially a bit more tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
What concerns me is that lack of depth at the back, though. You know, you've got a game against a lower league side. You're going to have to rotate it. It's only a couple of days in. Obviously, Cabango, I doubt to see the first minutes of the season. So the youngster from West Ham will come in. That means you definitely have to play the boy from Ipswich, Burgess, again. He's your only fit centre half. He's on. I'll be wrapping him up in cotton wool. Timon and Key, I guess, are going to be rested, and then there'll be youngsters in, won't it? So that's a very youthful setup at the back. So you're looking, then you're going to have to put some experience somewhere in that side to get over probably what is going to be a hard game against Crawley. You know, they're going to give everything to try and beat us and think we're going to be one for the taking there.
Where's Pedersen when you need him?
We replaced him with Santos, didn't we?
Yeah, who's out for half the season?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a curse, isn't it? Get rid of one, then we got another one who goes out for a couple of months.
Bring back Pedersen. Start a petition.
So, looking at the game on Saturday and what business we've done in the window so far, with there only 3 weeks being left of the transfer window, what areas of the squad would you like to improve on?
I guess earlier for me, it's got to be that creative midfielder. Yeah. That's the biggest thing we're lacking. We need somebody to create stuff in midfield because we're just not seeing a lot of it. I think as well, ideally, we need that striker. We've been looking at Kone from Wycombe, which obviously isn't happening. We're now looking at somebody from MLS as well, but we need another striker. I think Vipotnik might do all right this year, but we need somebody else as well. And then arguably another centre-back, as we've just been discussing. There's a gap there, isn't there? Especially with Santos injured for the next 3 or 4 months, whatever it is.
I think if I can go next, we have an abundance of players we need, but realistically, it depends on how much we got in the pot really to bring in and who we can bring in this short period of time that's going to be better than what we got. So I think, I know I'd probably say DM, but what I mean probably is a box-to-box midfielder like O'Brien was as such. I liked the way we played the second half of the season. There wasn't really that sitter. If the two of them would kind of do it together in a way and they kind of link well and kind of match in that kind of way. But full-backs, we've got nothing. If the two boys go out, we've got really thin on the ground. Like you say, centre-half, we've unfortunately down to paper-thin numbers. So striker actually would be lovely, but it's, you know, is that really the priority, or have we got two guys that can, I wouldn't say do a job really till Christmas as such, until the next sort of assessment of players come in. Maybe you can work on something to there, but at the moment it is hard work. But I think the board have really got to think about what I want the team to do this season in terms of achieving. Are we going for top 6? Are we going to go mid-table? Are we just about surviving here?
I'd agree with most of what you guys have said there. I think we need someone like a Six who's really comfortable on the ball, someone in the sort of the Flynn Downs mould that can come and collect the ball from the back four, from the goalkeeper, that's confident that can turn out with the ball. I think creativity is the big one, though, because we've seen it right throughout pre-season. We saw it on Saturday. There's just a serious lack of creativity there. You've got Cullen, who can drop into a 10, but naturally he's not a 10. We've got Ollie Cooper there, but I don't really know where his best position is for us. So ideally, you want someone that can link the midfield to the attack. I think full-back cover might be something that we need. Like you said, if we lose Key or Timon, okay, we've got Sam Parker, but I don't think his best position is actually right back and it's further forward. But the striker I think the strikers are nice to have at the moment. I think we do definitely need creativity and we need depth. We're sort of saying the same things that we did last season. It's almost like we've got a decent-ish starting 11, but nothing really to back it up. And we've seen already, we've been hit with sort of a mini injury crisis already. So we really do need some depth in there.
Yeah.
I always think at the moment is where do you fit Fiedel in at the moment now? He's come in, they spent a bit of money on him. What's his position going to be? Where's his role going to be in the side? I thought he was going to be a prime starter.
I was a bit sort of perturbed to see he went on the wing. That was so bizarre on Saturday. Like I said, he's always played in the centre. When he plays at Aalborg, he was playing for. He was always in the centre, either as like a 10 or sometimes as an 8. but we bunged him out on the wing, which I thought was very, very strange, if I'm honest, because surely you'd want someone as accomplished on the, he's as accomplished on the ball as we've seen. You want him in the centre pulling the strings. You don't want him isolated out wide.
Yeah.
Is that like home games then? Maybe we'd probably see that. Would you reckon? Would it be the three dropping the Fulton and then Galbraith and in with Franco, with Vidal maybe sort of bouncing back in between the lines?
I think that'd be good. If you, I don't want to say have a set of that we do with Matt Grimes. Maybe have Franco's perhaps the deepest line midfield, and then you could have maybe Galbraith and Vidal then push on slightly, because I think they're going to be better on the front foot. Whereas I think Franco's got the engine and the physicality that he can really break things up for us as well. But sort of give him that license not just to sit in front of the back four, but he can step up and join the midfield as well. Like I said, we've got three guys who are really good on the ball, so you just want to try and get them to go forward as much as possible. We don't want someone static like we did with Grimes just sitting there. I think, that would be interesting to see. We could possibly try it tomorrow. It would be very interesting to see if he does go with that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I've got nothing else to add. I agree. As you say, we just need more creativity just behind the striker to create goals. From what I spoke to my own thoughts and speaking to my own father, just lacked that creativity. Just lacked that creativity and that goal threat. It just got to the final third, and it was just as if there was nothing there.
Yeah.
There was just no end product. And then the midfield, we just need someone who holds the ball and dictates the play and links it with the attackers.
Yeah, agreed. I think the Potnick's obviously not fit, is he? He didn't start on Saturday, and we still got him to come back into the team. So hopefully, I think he's going to have a good season this season if he can stay fit. And we can get some creativity in midfield. I think he'll have a good season. Like I said, Anusa looked good for me. I think he'll come good as well. I think he's going to have a decent season. So, yeah, I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but yeah, we're definitely a couple of players short for sure.
Yeah. So, moving on from Saturday's disappointing loss, looking forward to the end of the season, where do you think the Swans will be at the end of the season?
Well, do you want my prediction at the minute, or prediction that probably if you strengthen or if you don't strengthen? That's the question.
Do you know what? All three.
Okay. Well, at the current time, we're a bottom half side. I'd say we're probably not amongst those ones fighting at the right at the bottom, but I think we're about the 14th to 16th. With a couple of signings, we'd make the top half, and we'd be, we'd maybe get about 10th to 12th, but certainly nowhere near playoffs. The teams are up this year are too strong.
I would say right now as well, if you'd ask me right now with the squad we've got, with the way that we're playing and the lack of a clear plan, I'd say we're nailed on for, say, 13th, 14th. I don't see us making much progress this year. Like I said, I'm really struggling to see what we're trying to do at the moment. So that's a little bit concerning. However, if we do really sort of nail onto an identity and really sort of stick with it and strengthening those areas that we discussed earlier, there's no reason why we can't be, say, from 10th all the way up to 7th. I agree, Rich. I don't think we're in a position where we can compete for the playoffs at the moment, but we could maybe make a push to try and finish higher up, like I said, if we get a clear plan and if we recruit smartly as well.
Yeah, again, not too dissimilar for me. I think as we are, with a bit of bad luck as well with injuries, I think we'll be looking at sort of around the 16th to 18th mark potentially. A couple of decent players coming in, bit of strength, bit of depth, anywhere top 10 potentially. But yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's going to be a building season this season, right? We've got 2 new investors coming in. We've got a little bit of the feel-good factor back in the city for the first time in a long time, I'd say. So I think, I don't expect a massive season from us this year, but I think we'll be building to next year for sure.
We've always got that potential to go on a run. It's always at the end of the season. A little bit too short, but we should be done. Got those points over Christmas. But it always comes down to not having a squad. At the end of the day.
We are literally like prime Real Madrid, though. When there's nothing to play for and it's mathematically impossible to get top 6, we turn into prime Real Madrid and just go on like a ridiculous run. But it's ultimately it's for nothing then, as it's basically a dead rubber. But it'd be nice to see us do it at a time where we can make a push for it this year. Like I said, we recruit smartly. There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't.
Yeah.
I agree. So, top scorer. if we can score goals.
I was going to say it would have been easier to set the league top scorer, but
Yeah.
if we can, but our team might actually match that. You never know. It's hard, but you look at the moment, like I think Hugh said, for Potnick, second season now. If they are the strikers we've got at the minute now, I think he's got potential to have a good run if he's given a service, But Callan is improved all the time. He's underrated, I think, for a guy who kind of makes a lot of his own chances, but you can get a bit more clinical. You never know, but I'm gonna back for Potnick.
Yeah, same for me. I've already said for Potnick, I think it's going to have a decent season for me. If he stays fit, injury-free, and increases his fitness, which I think he needs to do for the first few months, then I think he's got a good chance of being our top scorer for sure. Agree with what Rich just said on Cullen as well. He's another one, a bit like Oli Cooper. I don't really know his best position. I don't think he does either. I don't think he's not an out-and-out striker, but I think it's going to be Potnick.
I'm going to go with Ollie Oh, no, wait. No, he didn't sign for us, did he? No, I'm going to go with Vapotnik as well. I think if we use Vapotnik and we give him some consistent saves, I think I said on Twitter the other day that if we give him consistent saves and you play him to his strengths, there's a 100% a player in there. He's such a clean striker of the ball. If we actually put the ball into areas where he can finish, I think he can bag at least 15 plus for us. So fingers crossed on getting that creativity around him, because I think, he can definitely do the business for us.
Yeah, same here. No one else, but I did consider Eon, but I thought Vupotnik straight away.
I ain't got enough creativity, enough finished product for me. Eon, no. That's all.
No, he has glimpses, and you think, he can go on a scoring run, but he scores a wonder goal 1 minute, and next minute you can't score from 2 yards out.
Yeah, the shocker on Saturday as well. Yeah. I think now as soon as Sanusa's up and running now, I'm fit to go, I'd have him in every game, and he's got to win that place back, Yilmaz, now.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition there now. It opens it up.
Definitely.
So, I think we've covered everything from Saturday's game and where we think the Swans are going to end up. Moving away from the Swans, anyone read up on what has happened with Morecambe? And what's happening with Morecambe and their situation? And if you've got any thoughts?
Yeah, I've seen bits of it, obviously, in the press, and the lack of coverage, I think, from Sky has been pretty poor. They've been talking about some atrocious things all week. People naming their new captains, doing interviews, but then completely missing out on what's going on with Morecambe, which I think is disgraceful, to be honest. Swansea have been in similar positions before in the past. I think we'd like to resonate with that and stick our support in for people like Morecambe and Sheffield Wednesday who are going through a tough time. Mm-hmm. Other than potentially Cardiff, I think I'd probably lend my support to any club that's going through that. Nobody wishes it. Realistically on anyone, even Cardiff, but you know what I mean. The football family at the end of the day, isn't it? You don't want to see clubs folding. You don't want to see fans losing their teams.
No, it's a horrible time. Back when we were protesting on the streets in Swansea, and just all the players were going, no one's getting paid. It's you feel rotten. The fans are turning up, and it's just, they don't know what to do. It's a miserable time for everybody, and it was so lucky, really, at the time it happened with us, because if you imagine that about 10 years later, we would have gone under, definitely.
It's scary to think, if you look back through the last couple of seasons, how these guys are allowed to own football clubs. You could probably list off over the last 10 years, probably at least 10, 15 people who shouldn't be allowed within a mile of a football club. Apparently, we've got tests now which say they're fit and proper. Look at Reading, look at Sheffield Wednesday, Morecambe, Bury. The list goes on and on. It's just like, how is this allowed to happen? Yeah. One guy I speak to quite regularly about football said that he reckons a system that would work, rather than government intervention, would be if your club is, say, worth £200 million, whoever owns that club should have to put that money into a trust. That way then, with the EFL or the Premier League, if you then go bust, you lose that bond. That way you stop the club going under. But again, the game just seems like it's rigged towards the elite and the rich. I can't ever see a system like that happening. But if you imagine, in a scenario like that, nobody loses their club. Nobody loses their club, because you've got to put the money up front. And if you sort of gamble with the club's future, you lose that payment that you've put aside to the value of the club. But I can't ever see a radical reform like that coming in. And like you said, we've been through it ourselves, guys, and it's horrendous just to see it happening time and time again.
Yeah.
As you said, there's hardly any coverage by Sky or only real media outlet I've seen is from the BBC, and it just shows that the Sky not covering it. They're obviously their bias is going to be towards the Premier League, the big teams in there. But without the teams, in the Championship, League One, League Two, National League, and down, there wouldn't be a league. There wouldn't be leagues. No. So without teams like Morecambe, even Sheffield Wednesday, historically Wednesday are a big club. And without teams like that in the league, well, fans are losing their club, they're losing their history, they're losing their grandfather's team, their father's team, etc. And that, as James said, there should be more to the test to be a football owner rather than just, ticking boxes.
Yeah.
Because anyone could own a football club just by ticking boxes, but it doesn't mean you're a good owner.
Absolutely. I think it was a nice touch as well for the Leicester fans. When the Sheffield Wednesday fans came out, delayed after the game started to protest, and they all applauded them onto the terrace. Well, that was a nice touch and a bit of solidarity in football as well. It's banter for 90 minutes. The rest of the game, it's nice to side by side and support for a club going through a turmoil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice. I agree. Right. Well, that's the end of the pod. Thank you guys for this week.
Cheers.
And hopefully we'll have a bit more positive chat next week after this week's games. And thank you for your time again. Hope you have a lovely night.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.